How do you make a film feel authentic? Do you populate your fictional narrative with non-actors and actual events to give the whole thing an air of realism? Do you shoot the whole film in one continuous take, keeping everything grounded as one real-time sequence of events? If you're extra committed, you could even shoot your dark science fiction film inside of old chemical plants, giving the film a real aura, and the cast and crew serious illnesses. Some filmmakers even shoot entire films without scripts, letting the actors roam free for the sake of more spontaneous moments. But to me, a truly authentic film is one free from manipulation. Enter Son of Saul, a 2015 Hungarian film directed by Laszlo Nemes. The film follows a member of the Sonderkommando in Auschwitz who's forced to burn the corpses of his people, and his quest to give a body he believes to be his son a proper burial by any means necessary. That's all I'll say about it without spoilers, so if that sounds interesting to you, then I'd highly recommend you watch the film before going forward with this video. The film spent roughly 5 years in production, most of which was spent extensively researching the true stories of the Sonderkommando. The story of a father attempting to honor his son's legacy may be fictional, but everything surrounding it, from sets to dialect to the day-by-day schedules of the prisoners, is all real. While narratively it may not be a groundbreaking work, the style of it is something to behold. It maintains a super claustrophobic look thanks to the 1:37:1 aspect ratio and super shallow depth of field. The camera almost never leaves its protagonist, Saul's side. We observe everything through his perspective, and thus, the film feels appropriately unsympathetic. Most of the time spent making the film was spent in pre- and post-production, and the majority of the film's 28-day shoot was spent in rehearsals. The crew would only start shooting a scene once the director knew it would be perfect, and yet all this time, all this planning is put out of focus. All that time in rehearsals making sure everything is perfect is placed in the background, rendering all that work seemingly inconsequential. But that's just the thing. It's the obstruction of detail that I think makes the film feel so authentic. Many important story elements are introduced in the sound mix before ever being shown, and the ones that are shown are almost never the subject of their own insert shot. Saul doesn't get the luxury of a close-up, and so as we the audience are bound to his perspective, neither do we. Take for instance the bonfire scene, which occurs roughly an hour into the film. It's one of the more technically complicated scenes, involving loads of extras, live ammunition, and real fire. The scene is incredibly tense and immersive. We stay close to Saul through everything, and so we get to see the chaos unfold through a much more purposeful and realistic lens. And for comparison, let's take a look at the burning church sequence in 1917. It may not have real fire, but it still took a lot of coordination between different departments. But despite similar amounts of effort, at least in my eyes, it feels much more staged. It's completely omniscient. There's no stakes in how the scene is presented. It places beauty above all, and it leaves very little to the viewer's imagination. This isn't inherently a bad thing. Everyone looks for different things in art, and 1917 certainly has its fans. But to me, the Son of Saul scene gains so much more by showing so much less. It also helps avoid ethical dilemmas when making a film about the Holocaust. There's nothing artificial or romanticized about Son of Saul's depiction of these real-world tragedies, because almost none of it is actually shown on screen. Films like 1917, or even something like Schindler's List, clearly put a lot of effort into crafting beautiful images. Once again, it's not inherently a bad thing. I love 2001: A Space Odyssey and Portrait of a Lady on Fire as much as the next guy, but when it's a film about the real horrors of war, I question the morality of trying to find the beauty in it. That's another question for another time, but I do think it's worth talking about at some point. Back on the topic at hand, what I think makes Son of Saul work much better than other comparable films is how nonchalantly all the events are presented. There's twists and jaw-dropping moments for sure, but the shock comes due to the moments themselves. There's no musical sting, no camera push-in, nothing but raw, unapologetic action and emotion. And it's this lack of flair that lets the audience more easily interpret for themselves. It's another way of doing what I would say Michael Haneke accomplished with The White Ribbon in 2009. But instead of crafting everything to be as subjective as possible, Haneke values objectivity above all. He keeps many of the film's most disturbing moments left completely unseen, but everything in between is shown in a way that forces the audience to reckon with their own views on the subject matter. The White Ribbon is one of many works in Haneke's filmography that displays this style of unseen terrors. I chose to highlight The White Ribbon due to its narrative similarities to Son of Saul. However, on the topic of authenticity and manipulation, I think all his works deserve some recommendation. Films like The White Ribbon and Son of Saul are some of the few films I would consider to be legitimately anti-war. That's because in my eyes, they don't in any way manipulate their respective audience. Also, I note The White Ribbon isn't explicitly a war film, but personally, I feel that it's a film all about how hatred is bred and how that can lead to war. If you feel differently, I would love to hear your perspective in the comments. Anyway, neither of the films has a non-diegetic score to tell the audience how to interpret a scene, and they're both films that very intentionally remove clear answers to their vast number of questions. You never get to know who burned down the barn in The White Ribbon. You don't ever learn if the body is actually Saul's son or just another corpse amongst thousands. It's heavily implied the kids were behind most of the chaos in The White Ribbon, and the lead actor in Son of Saul himself said he doesn't think the body belongs to his real son, but nothing is known for sure, and it's, among many other factors, a lack of answers that I think makes these films as effective as they are. They don't sugarcoat, and they leave what is there to be interpreted by the audience. You can make a film feel authentic no matter the genre, perspective, tone. What I think really sells it is a film that doesn't force its audience into a box. It doesn't tell you what to think with overbearing music or performances. A truly authentic film, and in the genre of war films, a film that I would deem anti-war, is one that gives the audience an experience free from tampering, one where their opinions and interpretations are truly their own.